Welcome back. Thank you very much to our panel that we had beforehand. And it's a pleasure to introduce Javier to take us through his view and Cisco's view of the new workforce and new workplace, kind of digging a little deeper into some of those comments he made earlier. So I'd like to, without any further stops, hand over to Javier. Thank you so much, Javier.
Thank you, Dom. So I'm Javier Munoz, and part of the service provider collaboration team in Cisco, working here in Spain. And well, in today's session, I like to do a quick review, maybe quicker than I thought, because some of the topics we have already talked about in the different sessions up until now, about the landscape, the market landscape. But I also would like to touch about some of the key elements about redesigning your workforce and your workplace in order to have a better resiliency of the companies. So change is constantly redefining how we work. So we've seen that if you think about how we used to work like 10 years ago, you probably remember that there are many things that have changed, right? But with the latest events, really the pace in which that change has happened has accelerated a lot, right? So we've seen this massive acceleration of the collaboration technologies. I mean, scaling up. I mean, in the case of WebEx during the pandemic, multiplying by 3 all the meetings and the workloads, and then at the same time we saw a disruption of the companies in which from one night to the other they had to send all the employees home, and then they have an impact in their operations, right? So what happened during that time frame is that the companies just had to survive. So they have to choose technologies that could allow them very, very quickly to go and to make the people to work from home, right? And they took whatever was there. It was good for the moment because they could take that very, very quickly. But now is the time to redesign, to rethink about it, right? Because up until now, the resiliency was defined based on providing redundancy to your data and to your systems. But now redundancy concept for the companies has extended also to the workplace and the workforce, right? And let me show you an example of what happens if you don't think or redesign what you adopted in the pandemic, right? Because this is still happening today, right? So what I'm showing you here is probably you saw it in the news last week, right? So what you saw here is the European Union Minister of Defense Council, in which they were supposed to deal with very, very confidential issues, right? In which one Dutch journalist was able to enter in the meeting, right? Because I think he saw in Twitter a link with some password that was published with one of the members by error, and he was able to get into that meeting without any access control. As long as you had the link and the password, you were able to enter there, right? I think we all agree that this is no longer acceptable, all right? Maybe for surviving was good, but now looking into the mid and long term, this is no longer acceptable. So this is still happening. So the COVID not only affected the security, right, of the solutions that because we've seen that the solutions adopted by the companies have had an increase of 600% in the number of cyber attacks, right? But it has also affected other areas, right? Other areas like the business, because now the business, they realize that they did, as we were talking before, they need to design the company to be more resilient in other areas that they never thought of. So they need to invest in technology. And as you see here in the statistics for the survey from Pricewaterhouse and Cooper, like 72% of the CFOs expect greater resiliency, and 56% of the CFOs expect investments in technology, right? But also affected also in the culture. In the sense that 81% of the companies now believe that they need to introduce new safety measurements into the workplace, right? Specifically when people start coming back to the office, Now they need to ensure that the social distancing is achieved. And also there is another impact, which is in the culture and in the employees, right? Taking them remote has impacted the morale. In this case, in the survey, 43% of the companies realized that they had some problems with the morale of the staff going to remote, right? So losing that in-person interaction also had an impact. So what is where we are heading on? What is the future, right? So I think at this point, no one believes that we will come back to what it was before, to the normal, right? So that's why we see this new term of the new normal, where we are going to return, right? But what is that new normal, right? In this survey, we can see that if, when the companies are being asked about when will at least 90% of your workforce return to the workplace, they believe like 96% in a majority that never will have a situation where all the employees, 100% or 90% of the employees will go back to the office. We'll have a mixture of distributed workforce. If you ask them about when the business travel will go back to the levels it was before the pandemic, 51% believe never, right? And if we talk about digital transformation, about the pace that the digital transformation, the increase of the pace of digital transformation, 75% of the companies believe that this is accelerating tremendously. So what is if there is no new normal? What is if the future is always changing, right? What if in the past we used to work in the office, today we are working remote, right? But what if tomorrow we cannot define exactly how much people will work in remote and how much people will be working in the office, right? And this is what in Cisco we define like the hybrid workspace. And it's a workspace in which people can be remote, people can be in the office, and they all have a first-class experience, right? No longer the remote workers have a second-class experience in which they cannot be heard, they cannot be seen, etc., etc. So this hybrid workplace also needs to take into account your current investments. So it doesn't have to mean that you have to switch from what you have today to the new solutions in one night and move everything to the cloud. So if you have already current investments, like for instance in PBX, right, you can integrate whatever you have into this new environment that we call the hybrid workspace. So basically, how this approach is designed. Basically, the idea is to redesign the experiences of your workforce and how your workplace looks like. And at the end of the day, you need to have a common platform that unifies all and helps you to connect with your customers, with your communities, and with your ecosystems. So what are the elements of this redesign, right? So if we talk about the workforce experiences, the first one is that we need to provide in-person-like experiences. And this means basically that we need that the technology help us to create the bond, the personal bond that you usually have and when you are face-to-face, right? Then the companies need to optimize those experiences for the different profiles. So not all the employees have to have the same kind of experiences of technology. So we have from task workers to knowledge workers, we have executives, we have contact centers. So in that sense, we need to define services that are cost effective for each of the profiles, right? And at the same time that allow to keep the performance of those profiles even when they are not at the office, right? And the third point is that those experiences needs to be enterprise class. So it doesn't have to be like residential type of services, because we've moved the people to the home, then maybe the bandwidth is not good anymore. In the enterprise, maybe the camera, because the PC was really not designed to have a video interaction. So maybe the camera at the PC is low quality, right? So we need that these kind of interactions are enterprise, like if the person was in the office, right? In that sense, also needs to get access to the company processes. When we look at the workplace, we've already talked about this hybrid workplace that allow everyone to work from different places, at the office, at home, or even on the go, right? And this hybrid workplace is also leveraging from their current investments. The other point is redesigning the office space for collaboration. Maybe we don't need to have such many individual positions anymore at the office, because part of our staff will be working remote, and maybe we need to have more spaces for collaboration, typically of different sizes. You need to have spaces for 2-3 people, what we call the huddle spaces, then spaces for more, 5 to 10, and even large spaces, maybe for events, right? And maybe that redesign of the office space will help you to free up some budget for you to invest into technology, right? And the other element is security. We've seen, as we have seen in the example, we've seen a lot of security breaches, and we need to make sure that the workplace is 100% secure from the point of view of access control and end-to-end encryption, but also from the point of view of data privacy, to make sure that the data is kept securely and is not breached to third companies. And so you need a platform, right, that is able to connect your workforce, your workplace, right, where basically what matters is what you do, not where you are, right? That it's done in a secure way, and also that is providing the automation that will help you to increase the efficiency. And in Cisco, we think we have that platform that we call WebEx. WebEx is a fully integrated platform that puts together all these elements, and from end to end, from the devices to the services to integration with your current with the company current processes. And let me give you some examples of what this means in real life. If we talk about the secure remote work, we were talking about in-person experiences, right? This is important to create the intimacy between the people that are in the meeting, to make sure that no one can access there, right? I saw an article the other day in which it was talking about the European Union and how difficult is today to get into agreements, because in the past they used to get together in a meeting face to face, and they manage, even in the coffee corner or etc., they manage to get into these agreements, right? And this applies also to when the companies are selling, right? The intimacy and the personal bond that you need to get when selling to someone is something that is more difficult with the remote interaction, right? So that's why it's so important to have these like in-person like experiences, to really have good video, good audio, right? And we say that even better experiences than being in person. And you might ask, so how can this be? I mean, there's nothing better than being in person. But yes, of course, there are functionalities that are better than being in person. I have here some examples. We can apply those to before the meeting, during the meeting, or after the meeting, right? For instance, real-time captions or meeting minutes, right? So the system can help you to take the minutes and action points and decisions, right? So it's something that in the past you used to have a notebook, right? Or the noise removal, right? So the people that are remote don't listen to the background noise that maybe the people that are in the office, in the meeting, they are hearing the siren of the ambulance, or maybe they are seeing the cleaning personnel that are using the vacuum, right? So all these experiences is what we believe are key. So we're evolving our solutions in order to be this what we saw in the enriched presentation before, so to have these meaningful human interactions. When we talk about the office, we already talk about redesigning the office in different areas, and moving part of the individual positions into more collaboration areas. Some of them open, some of them closed, 3, 4, 10 people, right? And it's key to talk also about the devices that we put in those areas for the office, right? And in this case, you're seeing one of our devices that have multi-directional microphones, so that we can really capture the person that is talking, that has multiple video cameras that can really zoom to the person that is talking, have also multiple speakers, so that when you see someone in the screen talking, really you can locate where he's talking. But not only that, but these equipments are also were also thought for an easy interaction. So really, when you get into the room, the equipment recognizes you, and actually you just have to click one button to start your meeting, or even talk to it saying, okay, WebEx, start my meeting, right? So the device recognizes who you are, understands what is the meeting that you are wanting to start, right? But also now with the pandemic, we are reusing part of these functionalities also to do things like room capacity, to understand, to define now with the social distancing how many people can stay in a specific room, and whether that room is reaching the capacity, and then you can see an alert, right? So all these devices help us to redefine the workplace. We've talked about the security. The security has to be built in since the beginning of the applications, not bolted on. You don't have to think about the security at the later stage. You have to do that when you define the services. And this is exactly what our WebEx platform has. And finally, the other important point has to do with the IT manager for the office, right? A single point in which you can manage all the services, all your devices, and where you can have all the troubleshooting, diagnostics, and analytics, so that you can really understand how the different services, rooms, devices are being used. You have an inventory, so no longer you have to have different management links for the different point services that you are providing to your employees. So this is the future redesign, how we see the future redesign by verticals, right? So actually the idea is not just providing a standard service, but adapting each service for each vertical, for education, for banking, healthcare, industrial operations, smart buildings, anything. So at the end of the day, also the WebEx platform has the APIs where you can actually customize the experiences for your vertical or for your industry. And this is the WebEx platform. So a platform actually that has all the functional apps, from messaging, meetings, calling, events, and support, that is adaptable for all the verticals, government, healthcare, for contact centers, that integrates all the devices natively. So from the IP phone, headsets, and the really high quality video devices, also integrating into the desktop, right, and the productivity tools that the people is using, and that provides a platform that helps you with this hybrid idea that we've talked about, that also integrates with your processes and new technology as artificial intelligence. So I hope you liked this presentation and some of the examples that I've given. But actually, it's good that, so please go and visit our booth, where you can see more demos of all of these things in action. But also, let me tell you that next week, December 9th and 10th, we have our annual event, which is called WebEx One. So you're all invited. Registration is free. Please join to this event to know more about how WebEx can help you to redesign your workforce and your workplace. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Javier. Really interesting presentation, and very much looking forward to WebEx1 next week. I hear there's potentially some big Cisco news that's going to come out in that, so I encourage everyone to register for that as well. As Javier said, we're going to take a break now. We've got about 20 minutes, so please do visit the expo hall with the sponsors booths, and you can look at some of the solutions that Javier mentioned in his presentation, and also do try and test out the virtual networking, where it's a really good opportunity to meet some other attendees and speakers here at the event. But we've got about 25 minutes. If you could return to the main stage at 1:15, my colleague Finbar will be taking us through some details of networking in the new world. So for now, though, I'll see you shortly.